Hello and welcome to Campaign Comrades, your favorite leftist gaming podcast. I'm your host, Ben, and joining me on this journey into the game space are my intrepid co-hosts.
I'm Mike.
I'm Matt.
What's up? It's Rick.
How's it going, boys? How we feeling? It's a new year, new podcast.
Oh, I'm excited.
Like our president. I was going to say, like our president, I'm feeling sleepy. It's going to be a sleepy year.
Yeah,
A sleepy
I get
year.
that.
Nah, man, I'm excited. I got that New Year optimism. I'm ready to roar. 2022. We're gonna beat COVID. Let's go.
All right, you've already doomed us to failure within like the first 30 seconds of the podcast.
You just confirmed that I need to buy that Razer mask now because that's the future we're heading towards, and I'm going to be prepared.
Thanks, Rick. But yeah, we're excited to start this endeavor. We are glad to have any listeners joining us along the way. Some of you may be asking, what does leftist politics and gaming have to do with each other? And it's not a bad question. It's the reason we decided to start this podcast. We're just a bunch of friends from high school who kind of found this shared interest of games reignited, during the times of the pandemic, and have decided to make something of it, make a real project of it. But we've decided to kind of focus the show around looking at that question: what does our political interests, our goals have to do with the games we play? How do they interact? What does one reflect or say about the other? And I think it's a reasonable question to ask, because let's be real, what does a historical political project whose primary goal is the establishment of a universal common welfare have to do with the copy of Big Mother Truckers 2, Truck Me Harder, I just played for 5 hours?
It's the cussy economy.
Right. We got to stay on top of these things, and that's what we're here to do. Is we're giving you the late breaking numbers on things like that. And we are so glad to have you here, dear sweet listener, asking these oh so important questions. And we have some we are striving to give you those answers. And we in starting this show kind of recognize and have come together with this kind of mission statement, if you will. And we here at Campaign Comrades, we see games of all sorts like any other medium of popular culture. These games that we engage with, they reflect the collective psyche of our society at any given time. They can reveal our desires, our fears, what drives us and compels us to either like work together or against one another. As leftists interested in understanding the contradicting structures of exploitation that define our world, these games and the people who made them, and more importantly, the people who consume them, they can aid in our kind of critique of these structures, seeing how people are engaging with certain mediums, what they say about the society at any given point in time. At the very least, I think games can ignite our imagination. There's nothing quite like stepping into a new world that games can provide, even like new realities that can open our eyes to the shortcomings and the iniquities of our own kind of sad reality at times. However, I gotta say, with all this, these answers are not exhaustive and are just kind of picking away at the iceberg of what we hope to kind of look at as the ongoing project of the podcast. For those of you who are still listening and thinking to yourselves, games should be apolitical, first I'm going to say, what are you still doing here?
Yeah.
Second, just say, fuck you, that's dumb. It's stupid. That's like a baby brain look of the world. Because let's be honest, all pop culture, it's a product of reaction to the very specific material conditions of history. The conditions that are actively shaped by the dominant political economy, which is to say, capitalism, folks. We've solved it. We've solved it right now, right here. So do we even need to go any further? But I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you, break the news. The truth is, your favorite game, it's been political this whole time. But for those of you who are willing to go forward with us, do not despair. In steps Campaign Comrades, to bring you an explicitly leftist analysis of gaming, both as a cultural product as well as a corporatized industry. Join us as we unpack the various ways we as a society choose to play with one another. Our regular episodes will consist of a roundup and analysis of the latest news and topics of conversation regarding the most current games. We will also be releasing special episodes probably once every month, starting off where we dive deeper into a particular area of interest to us and our listeners. If things go well, we hopefully will be able to provide even more exciting content through platforms like a Patreon campaign where we can, interact directly with listeners to see what they want to hear. But now that we know a little bit more about what the show's about, I think we should spend some time introducing ourselves to the audience so they can get to know who we are, what we do, and what we think being a real gamer is all about. So first off, Mike, what are some of your earliest gaming moments, your earliest gaming memories?
So my earliest gaming moments came on a lime green Game Boy Color that, one of the bundle packs with Pokemon Crystal, which I will say it here and stand by it, best Pokemon game ever made. And
Bold.
yeah, very bold. But no, I think there will be some that agree with me. But yeah, I mean, I started off with that and a GameCube, which I got shortly after. Those Nintendo colors of the early 2000s, late 90s were fantastic. I had the purple GameCube, the lime green Game Boy Color, and like between those two, you had this, to me at least, I had this experience where I could like live these two worlds of, escapism into my, handheld console of, just playing by myself, locked in my room, and, share with friends or even play with my sister on the GameCube. So, to me, I have like these early memories of being able to kind of escape, but also play with others through the medium of games.
So you've been a Nintendo good boy since the beginning, right?
Yeah. I mean, and I think everyone starts on those baby games. So
Fair enough. Matt, I got one for you. What was your peak gaming experience? That high that you've been chasing ever since.
That's a tough one. I mean, there's probably two I could look at, at like different points in my life, different peaks. I could look at finally defeating Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts, the first one when he was the secret boss in the Colosseum. Like that moment right there really like captured that feeling for me.
Kingdom Hearts gave me nightmares as a kid.
Fair. I mean, understandable. But like that feeling is something that I look to now when I play like a Souls game. It's like the same thing I'm chasing when I'm doing those same boss fights and those difficult battles. I'm trying to overcome that feeling. It's probably the first time I beat Dark Souls was the first time that feeling really came back was, defeating Gwyn. Something I can, now walk into with no issue because I've beaten the game so many times. But like that first time you really capture that imagination, that like feeling of overcoming a great challenge, something that doesn't want you to beat it,
Like to have those bragging rights with those From Software games.
Should get them all tattooed on my arm like a brand.
well, and I think that's something interesting about the four of us is, Matt has these bragging rights to From Software that I think none of us have the skills to say that we could even beat a From Software game. So
I would
think,
disagree, but
I'm prepared to waste $60 on Elden Ring, play it like 2 times, and probably just get so frustrated never play it again.
exactly. But
I would argue that all of you could beat them if I like helped you find the initial parts of the route for a build for you, and then you can push through.
I guess my point is to the listener, we have a between the four of us, I think we have a wide variety of different gaming experience and even just gaming interests that we'll be covering throughout our tenure as podcasters.
Right, and kind of on board with that, Rick, what kind of games do you play, and why do you play them?
All right. Yeah. So for me, my kind of games I play, I look to satisfy my competitive nature, get to dominate my fellow man, escape reality. That's really kind of how I always have enjoyed gaming, whether it was battling Pokemon gym leaders for those sweet badges, giving quarterbacks concussions in Madden with the always fantastic hit stick, or, just getting to stomp some Goombas as I get to pretend I'm a greasy simp plumber. Being a gamer since the gateway Windows 95 Reader Rabbit games, I've kind of run the gamut, but generally focus on sporting games, third person, action adventure, RPGs, first person shooters. Those are really where I like to focus my time because, like I said, I get to pretend I'm either a freak athlete who dominates their competition, or just shoot some people and release some steam that way. So that's kind of my gaming experience up to now.
We'll say fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Folks at home, I'm quoting fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy in the game.
Fantasy play in the game. But you spoke on some truth there, man. Those Reader Rabbit games, they were fucking fire.
Absolutely. I think that was like how I learned to read, more or less.
Did anyone play Oregon Trail here, or is that too
Didn't
old
we
for
all
us?
like have to play it in school?
I didn't play it in school.
Yeah,
I
played
did.
in school.
I didn't.
Computer class.
I definitely
Yeah, it was like
definitely played in computer.
it was like sanctioned. It was sanctioned. It like it
I went
helped
to a
teach you
different elementary
computer
school
literacy.
than you.
Yeah, wasn't it more of like wasn't it like modified slightly to include like typing and stuff so that you could
Yes,
like practice
yes,
your typing more?
I see. I
yeah,
did.
it was
Carmen
all about
San
computer
Diego.
literacy. No, never did Carmen San Diego.
It was a Where in the World is Carmen San Diego?
Freddy the Fish, putt.
There was this one educational game that I played the shit of back in the day. I like tried finding the title for it, but like I don't know, I couldn't tell if I was just hallucinating it, and like just the keywords I was putting in just were getting nothing back. But it was like this kind of platformer type game where you would go around, fighting these kind of enemies, but collecting these components, these building components, and you would build race cars out of it, and you would race the villain at the end. And it was all about like teaching you like aerodynamics and all. I mean, very basic concepts, but say like that the fiberglass body is better than the metal body. It's lighter, it has less drag, like.
This is
And it would, depending on the car you would build, like the components you could get, you could make a better car, and you would race the bad guy, and it would determine if you won by what you were able to find. And I fucking loved that game, and I just, it's lost time for me.
I'm jealous. That sounds like an awesome game. I never played that one, but
see, for my early gaming, it was that, and then playing Doom on my, like, sitting on my dad's lap while we played on his absolutely enormous old work PC. That thing was fucking gigantic.
Like,
we had this really long, like it was supposed to be a dining room table, but in like the house we had growing up, the room it kind of had to go in, it was mainly just like a really long desk, and it just had all sorts of stuff on it. And this computer must have taken up like a fucking third of this 15 or so long table, like probably even more.
it was like a
But,
piece of
just
masonry, like a slab of concrete.
Yeah, it was freaking crazy. But yeah, so it was definitely my mom's influence moved me away from Doom and into those kind of games. And but then it was like also like the damage had been done, and like I didn't really get to play video games a whole lot as a kid growing up. I missed out on all the the major Nintendo series of our day, and but really kind of got back into it in middle school and high school really.
dude, I was in the same boat with the Nintendo. I wasn't, my mom and dad it wasn't the violence, it was the it's going to melt your brain for them. So
Yeah.
they were like, no Nintendo for you. So I was a fiend for Super Mario when I was like 5 to 7, and just with like, if you had a Nintendo, chances are we were friends because you had a Nintendo and I got to play your Super Mario.
Yeah, and that kind of gets at the core thing of my gaming history. It's like for the longest time, it was really only casual kind of because of that, but it still has, as I think about it, has a foundational place in pretty much almost every major friendship I had, both growing up in high school and then in college. Like, it was never like something super serious, but like we can count, like, or could not count the number of times, just like the nights we would stay up in the just like all night playing, Call of Duty Zombies, like when the first one came out, and just like how kind of, central that was to just our experience growing up. And it's just a way to do things together communally.
Well, the video game console became like the new hearth, where people like gather around to socialize.
How are you pronouncing this shit? It's hearth, dude.
Hearth.
It's hearth.
Listen, I may not be ELL, but I might as well.
That's gonna be a common theme on this podcast.
Is what
just
can Mike
absolutely butchering the pronunciation of simple words.
I'm gonna pitch you an app idea, an app that you type the word into and it tells you the proper way to pronounce it.
No, it's my brain is hardwired from like Italian American, third generation immigrants who have just been speaking improperly for years. So that's my socialization, and everything will be pronounced wrong. We're lucky I could pronounce my own name.
We got a Fredo in the group, folks.
Oh, so one thing I wanted to add to like the video games are gonna melt your brain, or the violence in them. And the reason that I played so little games growing up, and like a lot of my friendships were also around like who had the PlayStation and like who had had a lot of games for it, was like just the money to access the games. So like when I was growing up, like I got a GameCube, it came with a game. My parents were like, you're gonna play that fucking game until
this thing fucking breaks.
Yeah, exactly. And like I would get one game a year, and I would usually get it for my handheld because I wanted the new Pokemon game. And so like my gaming in that sense at a young age was limited by monetary confinements, or whatever was in the bargain bin that I could find for like $5 and then play the shit out of that game.
I think that's how I like first started my love affair with the Ratchet and Clank series, is when my mom finally caved and let me get a PS2. It was well after like the first one had come out, but that's a bargain bin showed me the light.
Well, it's interesting you bring up that idea of video games is kind of like the hearth that people bond around, because like when I think back to my neighborhood as a kid, every household had a different console, and that was kind of where you'd go to congregate, different game. I had the Nintendo 64, so we played Smash Bros, come over and play Ocarina of Time, Star Fox 64, the OGs. But then you go across the street to John's house, and he's got the SNES and he's got the PlayStation 1. So you're going over there playing Metal Gear Solid. You go up around the corner, and Keith's got the Dreamcast. You're playing Sonic. You're getting the trifecta there, and there's a lot of that. You didn't have every console in your house, but you got to share it with your community around you. And that was a lot of, growing up in the summer. You could find us at anyone's house at any given moment, just chilling, watching, chilling, playing.
Yeah. And like you literally bounce around.
I think a lot of the modern online multiplayer stuff doesn't really capture that same feeling, especially for me, at least, to like sitting on the couch with friends playing, couch co-op or something like that.
Still, it's been that element of games that has really kind of recaptured me, particularly since the pandemic has struck in. We've kind of like touched on it already, but like for me personally, the way the kind of my personal timeline kind of worked out is like I had graduated from I had done my graduate studies in theology. Guess how well that has served me, folks. I did that. Like it left me kind of feeling creatively drained, and sick and tired of the academy, and what it's able to do for real people. And I mean, I'm still so thankful for my education. It like introduced me to things like leftist theory, which allowed me to articulate frustrations that I'd had and was never able to kind of put into words before. But it left me in this place where I was just feeling really kind of shitty and just kind of down and out on the world as it is, just kind of doomer pilled, as the kids say. and that only was heightened by the onset of the pandemic not too long after, and that just the further sense of alienation that really kind of crept in. But I've got to say, it's been my rediscovery of games, both from things like pen and paper role-playing games to the daunting arena of PC gaming, that has kind of reignited at least my creative drive and my passion for engaging in these kind of flawed worlds that kind of reflect our own. And I don't know, it's given me something to create memories and build relationships and maintain relationships with you guys, and that has meant a lot over these times. And so it kind of goes in and speaks to, again, what the overarching idea of this podcast has become is, as leftists, as people engaged in a wanting to see a better future, where all people are empowered to see fulfillment in ways that are meaningful to them. This is a way that we can do that together, and I'm excited to see where this leads us. Anything else you think that the audience should know about you and your unique perspectives and what you kind of hope to bring to, or hope to get out of this project as well?
Yeah, I think align with what Ben had pointed out. I think video games and gaming in general have just been a way, to bring about like a community, bring about people with like-minded ideas that you could, share community with. And part of that, like that I want to bring out with my background, which I was a educator prior, and now I'm finishing up my law degree. The community within the people that are creating those games. So we're going to focus, hopefully a lot here on the labor practices and the labor that goes into these video games, and how we as leftists can support those endeavors of the labor activists within video games, within tabletop games, kind of support the whole, or even model a labor movement for labor as a whole. So I think with my background, that's something I would like to focus on, and kind of inform our listener what's going on in that area of gaming.
All right. Well, I'm excited to jump into this. We've got some exciting things planned going forward. I think that's probably we've done our due diligence introducing both the show and ourselves to the audience, and we've kind of touched on a little bit what we expect normal episodes to look like. And to that note, we will kind of jump into hopefully what will be our main bi-weekly episodes, kind of current events, touching on what's late and great in the gaming industry, and what is worthy of attention to interested leftists. But normally we will probably start the show with a segment we are excited to call heated gaming moments, where we will be just kind of kicking off the show, talking about what's been going on in each of our own kind of gaming lives, what we've been playing, what's been getting us what's been getting us heated, as the title suggests. But seeing that it's a new year, new podcast, we are going to mix things up for the first episode. Rather than necessarily what we've been playing recently, we're going to do things a little bit different. We're going to do what were everybody's top 3 plays from 2021, and then followed up with what's got you most hot and bothered for this upcoming year for 2022. Mike, I think you're going to kick us off. What were your top 3 plays?
So I ended up playing a lot of older games in 2021, so I really only have 2 top plays from 2021 itself.
Unprofessional.
Yeah, I know, right? Hey, I was catching up. I was adding all the older games that I played on Rick's PS4 the past like few years, getting them on my own PC, and just like getting to where I was, where I left off on those games.
Hey man, I'm just busting balls. You're like, that's literally my exact same story as well. We'll get
So I played a lot of Forza 5, and I had a lot of fun with that game. the racing. I've played like all those arcade Forza games. I'm sorry, Forza Horizon 5. Specify Forza Horizon 5. I played a lot of the arcade Forza games in that series, and this one was just a lot of fun. The graphics were incredible. It was smooth gameplay, smooth racing. And then my other one is an obvious one for me. The Nintendo Good Boy of Brilliant Diamond came out in November, and I've been playing that and was just excited to get that little tingle of nostalgia from the probably like 600 hours of the original Pokemon Diamond I put in to my original DS. So just like bringing back those memories of high school Mike locked in his room, just breeding Pokemon, catching Pokemon.
What do you say to the critiques though of the remakes?
I think people should just like shut the fuck up, play the fucking game. Like, come on, it's a baby game. It's made for babies. Like, it's another access point for people to get into the game. It's all about making money for them. Like,
the whole argument against the graphics is just so silly.
It's so silly.
It's like look at the original game and look at this one. It's basically the same graphics, just like popped out a little bit and like, calm down.
And like that's all all people wanted for years, and then we finally got it. And that's a good segue for the game I'm looking forward to in 2022 is Pokemon Arceus Legends, which is like kind of the gameplay that people, or at least the graphics people were looking for in Brilliant Diamond that they didn't get. But like I said, the Brilliant Diamond like is what it is, and Arceus is the new game, which I'm incredibly excited to play. And like a few, maybe 2 weeks comes out.
Soon, yeah, very soon.
And then so my other hot and bothered for this upcoming year is and I am hot for it and also bothered in multiple senses of the word. Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel is coming out in February, I believe it's supposed to release. So, basically a Magic the Gathering arena clone where you can't move any of the digital cards that you own in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links over to the new game. So, there goes all the money I spent there in that game. Just bye-bye.
Say me, the arena evangelist. Don't think you're gonna catch me with the Duel Links.
Hey, they are making it like arena where you could like you don't have to pay to get cards. Like you get them rewarded in the game. So like they did take that critique from Duel Links, which is one of the worst things about Duel Links. It was
Konami just heard what you said, and they were just like NFTs. That's what we must do, and they're going to turn everything into an NFT.
I've been waiting for it. Ben sent a link in our group chat, and all I saw was Konami and NFTs, and I went no. Luckily,
now you can only own one copy of the digital card, and no one else can.
Yeah, it'd be like the Duel Monsters show, But luckily the Konami NFTs is only Castlevania, so it is coming for Yu-Gi-Oh. But I definitely have some years before, hopefully, or at least months.
I'll do my heated gaming moments if you're done with yours, Mike.
You could go ahead.
All right. I'm looking at last year releases, my top 3, no particular order. Don't want to pick favorites with my favorite children. Returnal #1. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Really enjoyed that. Takes this reboot series from 2016 and gives it a good sequel. Fun little romp around the galaxy. And I'm going to round it out with another space adventure and a surprise for me, actually. This one caught me off guard. Guardians of the Galaxy was a game that I had no expectations for when I saw it originally announced, because all I had in my mind was Square Enix, Marvel Avengers. They're going to do it again. But they apparently learned a lesson. I mean, they released a single-player story game with no microtransactions. Just play the game.
I thought they were literally going to just take Marvel Avengers and make it in outer space and just like reskin that game and make it Guardians of the Galaxy. And I was pleasantly surprised. So I would throw that in one of my top 3 plays from last year as well. I forgot I played that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
It's on
for
my
that.
list. It's on my list. I need to catch up though.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, I wanted to play it, and then just I wanted to control like Drax, and the fact that they're just buttons that turned me away from it initially. But hearing it on your top 3, I think I'll give that a second look.
I mean, it's like Mass Effect in the Marvel universe, and it's not connected to the cinematic universe. So you don't have any of that. It's its own self-isolated story. Yeah, pretty good. As far as games coming up this year, I'll give 2 to start that have bona fide release dates. I'm kind of upset about the release dates. So we got Horizon Forbidden West, followed by Elden Ring a week later. They're gonna make me pick a favorite child, and I hate that.
What are you gonna do, Matt? Are you gonna go to work at all that week?
I'm actually thinking about taking like a 4 or 5 day weekend on the Elden Ring launch and just fucking no lifing the game for like 5 days. And like you could check on me. You can like poke in and be like, "Are you alive?"
Yeah, we're gonna have to do wellness checks on Matt.
You should do that though.
Send a care package.
Do a drive-by check to see if the Mountain Dew bottles are piling up outside.
Yeah.
Man, you died of lead poisoning.
Filled with a slightly different yellow liquid.
Man drowns in his own piss after Mountain Dew bottle caps fail.
Yeah, Elden Ring, Horizon Forbidden West. That's going to be a really tough. Like that's actually part of giving me an issue right now. Is like I don't want to commit to a long game, knowing they're coming in about a month and a half, and that I need to be like prepared and ready for this. I got to be, like get myself ready. Third game, it's not confirmed. We don't have a confirmed release date yet, but God of War Ragnarok, the sequel to the original, 2018 God of War reboot that we got. That's what give me more. Let me be daddy. Let me teach boy. boy.
Matt is just reaching his final form.
Boy. Dude, I'm with you on God of War. For me, top 3 plays from last year. I gotta say, I really liked Deathloop. I don't know. I know Matt played that. I don't think anyone else did, but I really enjoyed the mechanics and how it kind of told the story for a first-person shooter game. It got you a little more
fun characters.
Yeah, the characters were fun, and the fact that it kind of turns what is really a pretty classic first-person shooter into also kind of this mystery treasure hunt type with the clues. I found that to be a compelling mechanic of the story and kept me interested.
Just all the Dishonored powers.
Yeah, that too.
Smashed on top of you.
Yeah.
Like the amount of fun you can have in that game. That's a really fun game.
So I really enjoyed that one. My second, and this is in no particular order, is 12 Minutes, which I don't think anyone else played here, but that was came out.
That's another loop
Yeah,
game.
It is actually another loop game. Came out back in August of 2021. And you essentially...
You think we could call 2021 the year of the loop? Because you had Returnal, Deathloop, 12 minutes. We're starting to see a looping pattern here, guys.
It was just a loop of 2020. So
no, it was a repeat. No, there's another one.
Yeah, there is.
For some reason I'm blanking on it. It also
City?
has loop. It also has loop in the title.
I'm forgetting.
Forgotten City is also a loop.
Is it like Loop Hero? Is that something? Is that what it is?
That sounds like a game. It's probably something.
No, it's Loop something.
Lupe Fiasco.
No, Loop Hero. I was
right.
right.
Yeah, no, it was a repeat year in Year of the Loop. So those were both a fun game. 12 Minutes is really just a completely different game than I've generally play. It's essentially point and click, and you essentially figure out why you're in this time loop as a man and his wife who get assaulted by this cop who's voiced by Willem Dafoe. Daisy Ridley voices the wife, and James McAvoy voices the protagonist. It was a well done game, fun till the end. So I enjoyed that one. And then
isn't it really?
That game in a weird way reminds me of I think it's called Escape from the Obra Dinn or Memory of the Obra Dinn. The art style and everything are completely different, But like the type of gameplay loop that you're going for kind of remind me in the same way.
Interesting.
That's a fun little mystery black and white game.
I'll have to check that one out because I did enjoy this. And yes, Ben, super fucked up. Super fucked up. The ending, I played it with my partner, and her and I both, like, we finished the game together and we both just looked at each other and were like, that's what this was about? What? So no spoilers, but yeah, super fucked up.
Are you telling me that it's more depth to the ending than Untitled Goose Game?
I don't think depth is really what we're after.
It's
just
fucked up, that's for sure. And then lastly, as I said earlier, I love to pretend I'm a big athlete, in that top elite percentage of the humans on Earth. So 2K21 rounds out my list. Just getting able to dunk a basketball in the virtual world, can't beat it.
I mean, that will always be on your list.
It really will be.
No matter the year, no matter how shitty the game is, what tiny tweak they made.
Yep, you can.
Just wait until they release it in VR and we can strap you into like a feeding pod and just leave you in the universe forever.
Sign me up. And then this coming year, I'm excited for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. That's one that we've not yet mentioned. I'm a fan.
Big shout out.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the Borderlands universe that has Adam Sandberg, Will Arnett, and Wanda Sykes in it. So I'm excited for that. Some good voice acting there. I think it should be fun. It's also one of the games that still does the classic couch co-op, which I hate that has kind of disappeared from gaming.
It's a dying breed.
It really is. So I'm excited for that one. And then shout out to Starfield. Skyrim absorbed my life for the first 3 months of COVID back in 2020. And I am excited for what seems like a potential version of Skyrim in space.
Yeah, I kept Starfield off my list because I just don't believe it's releasing next year.
I'm
like every ounce of my body has no faith in that release date.
I'm kind of with you, but I just like every time I hear about it, I get excited. So I had to include it on my list.
But like to be fair, I also don't expect Horizon Forbidden West or Elden Ring to also release on time. Like I keep waiting to get like 2 weeks away and then be like, we're delaying it by a month.
That might work out for you.
We're not crunching, guys. Please.
Yeah. Alrighty, falls to me then. As I kind of already mentioned, I also fell into the category of not playing that many releases from 2021. I played a lot of older games, catching up on things I had missed out on. Thank God for the Steam sale.
Great Steam sale.
I think when I went back and looked, I think I really only played actually 2 video games from 2021. And so I guess I'll just jump into it. Probably my top play of actual releases is got to be Ratchet and Clank. I was lucky enough to get a PS5 at the tail end of the year, and
this podcast is filled with PS5s.
Say socialism is when no PS5. We're again already canceled before we're out of the gate.
I'm the only true socialist here then.
But I mean, I enjoyed it a lot. It was a beautiful game. Level design was cool and interesting. It brought back a lot of like the great mechanics from old. I think one of my comments, we were talking about this off camera a while back, about the 2016 Ratchet and Clank remake. It's like one of my pet peeves is they didn't bring enough of the boots back. They only had like grind boots in 2016. You had a lot more of those kind of gadgets returning to this one, which was cool. You had some new additions. The only, and I think Rick, you'll be sad to hear this, the only thing I was disappointed with was the Buzz Blades.
No.
Doom Blades.
The Buzz Blades were
nerfed a bit.
They felt a little weak to me. They felt like they underperformed. And that was always the GOAT to me. That was always my favorite.
Dude.
I mean, I never felt like if I unloaded a whole clip of Doom Blades into somebody that I was like upset with the amount of damage, but it definitely wasn't it was.
It didn't feel as viscerally satisfying as it used to. Like, yeah, it got the job done. But like when it came down to it, was basically I was just using the executor all day.
Oh yeah.
That by far became like the number one use.
I just started playing it as I recently got a PS5 as well, and I'm not yet to having the Buzz Blades, but that's disappointing to hear.
Yeah, It comes later
Did you
on.
upgrade to the digital deluxe edition to get the armor and the weapons early?
No.
No,
Good.
fuck that shit.
I hate that.
Good.
Fuck that- fuck-
Solidarity.
Yeah, fuck that pay to play shit. But then the only
The best part is because you can get it for free. Like there's literally no reason to pay for that.
right. The only other actual 2021 release I played was Metroid Dread, which was definitely a heated game for me. So that one definitely got me hot. That one was like I thought it was designed beautifully, gorgeous. The mechanics were excellent. They felt like
It's a tough game.
it was like intuitive, but like there was challenge to it, and like you felt like you had to push it in order to do these things. But then I would just get stuck in these fucking death loops that, like, if we like hadn't like recorded an episode on and be on the lookout for that coming in the future, folks, I probably would have put it down much further than when I actually did. And where it stands, I still haven't finished it yet.
No,
But
you're actually fairly close.
Right. I know I am. And that's why like I did kind of put it down. But like I can, say like it was like, an impressive engineering accomplishment. I appreciate its design.
That was a fun one for me. I just didn't put that into my top because it was overall a shortish experience for me.
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't necessarily say like it was, say a top gaming experience for me, but it was a good game.
Yeah.
I can't deny that it was good. The quality was top.
It won something at the Game Awards, right?
Yes, I think I forget what. But then what coming out of left field a little bit, my real top play of 2021 was the latest release from Games Workshop, Kill Team 2021. A refreshing bit of tabletop wargaming for me. It was my first experience with something like alternating activation, which coming from just playing 40K was a huge thing. I mean, admittedly, I need to expand out and play some other non-Games Workshop games, and I've got some new rule sets in house that I'm gonna tamper with, gonna play around with. But I gotta say, like, I've enjoyed Kill Team every time I played it. It's gotten some heat from some of the more cantankerous side of the hobby.
You'll never please them though. They're never happy.
I gotta say, even for those like haters, I've even played some of the compendium rules, and yeah, maybe they're a little bland, a little boring, but like they still get the job done. They're still like Space Marines are still fun as hell. They kill a lot of shit. I don't think that the compendium book should have cost $50. I think it should have been made free online. And in the game, I may have stumbled upon. Definitely didn't go out and search for this. So it just kind of fell into my lap.
Amazing how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, just like I just like was sitting there one day thinking like, boy, I wish I could get those compendium rules and high resolution scans. And what do you know? Like one just magically appeared.
An angel came down from the heavens.
Yeah, and I will not tell you how to do that, but you totally should go. Because yeah, $50 for that was fucking bullshit. Just basically was a stopover gap to get all the other armies that weren't featured in the first release box up to snuff for the first rules. They used to do that for old editions when they would be a significant change in other games, and they would like release them again for free.
No book for anything should be over $20. Period.
Agreed. All right, so let's just wrap things up quick with what's on my list of most anticipated. There were a few that maybe been covered already, but I am likewise looking forward to God of War Ragnarok. Yeah, no official word when that is. I think most of the games that are on my list have no official release date yet. So that's again what kind of needs to be said about looking forward to 2022 with these games is most likely half of them we're not going to see anytime soon. But
except the two that Mike picked.
Say God of War Ragnarok is definitely on that list though. Starfield is too, but then that one is for that one. That one says November, but there's no way. There's no way. If it's that close to the end of the year, there's no way it's making it in 2022. So that one would have been on my list, but for that. So the other two I have are Forspoken coming from Square Enix in the summer.
Choice.
Man, the spells and like the kinetic movement just seem really fucking cool. Like
and the heavy zoomer energy in the the
Yeah,
dialogue.
yeah. That I'm going to mock endlessly, but like the actual movement of the gameplay is what really has got me going. Like the dialogue is very funny.
Oh, no,
And
I'll be right there with you playing. Don't worry, we can mock together.
but then the last one that I'm actually really excited for is from Bethesda is Redfall, the co-op for FPS, like the
Vampire
the,
hunting
the
game.
the vampire shooter game.
Yeah.
Where you've got like your different character archetypes, and there's like some spell stuff, and it's not your average FPS thing, and
We'll get some Campaign Comrades multiplayer action going.
Yeah, it's not a battle royale game, so I'll be more likely to actually play it. The only thing that may get me to jump into battle royale is the Vampire the Masquerade game that's coming out, where you're just like these different class of vampires. But again, it's a battle royale game, and I'm just so bad at that kind of shit that I feel like I just won't do that.
Yeah, I'm not a battle royale fan. I think it's interesting though. We all kind of, at least two of us, and I agree with you both that I don't know. I didn't play all that many new games this year, and I think overall this was kind of a more subdued year in terms of what ended up actually being released. But I don't know, 2022.
Pandemic.
If you watch like game journalists, you wouldn't know
No.
that. So many articles was like, oh, 2021 was like a legendary year in gaming, historic even.
Oh, it was a very average year. A lot of games got pushed. Pandemic.
Yep.
Did Cyberpunk come out in 20? No, that was 2020.
No, it came out
No.
technically December
Yeah.
of 20.
Of 2020.
What a great way to
2020,
end 2020,
Yeah.
by the way. Just like the final kiss.
Hey man, they're still making that game.
Still,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Literally, still.
They just updated it with
Everyone bought it on Steam sale for $30, and it like skyrocketed the ratings. And they were like, "Oh my god, people love our game now!" I'm like, no, please fix the game. You're not off the hook.
I don't think you can get away with that. But in line with like us looking back at our own year in gaming, I think it's safe to say that 2021 was, a pretty rough year for all of those employed in the industry. So, as we're moving into our next main segment, our system update, I've got a question for you, Mike.
hit me.
We've say so 2021 was this shitty year. We had almost every major game studio being accused of, or like even facing legal action for near universal complaints of unsafe and toxic working conditions, lack of overtime pay, outrageous hours, like you name it, you'll find reports of office cultures rampant with sexual harassment, homophobia, racism. If you can think of something bad to do to employees, odds are that a major game studio has done it and did it in 2021 and made news about it. But in the spirit of looking forward to this new year, Mike, after all these, horrible stories, why are you so optimistic about the state of labor in gaming?
So like I had read a Wired article that I think the thesis of it stated it pretty well. It gave some good terminology to kind of capture, I think, this phenomenon that's going on not only in labor and gaming, but kind of labor movements as a whole throughout 2021. And typically people think that others will kind of take action when they're experiencing suffering, and like suffering is the catalyst to bring someone to action. And this article is kind of proposing that it's not the suffering, in fact, that does that, but the hope of getting out of the situation. So, you still are recognizing that there is suffering, but it's the idea of hope that there's greener pastures, per se. So I think this idea of hope is a good way of capturing what has been going on, in that throughout all of labor in 2021, we've seen a rise in actual union organizing, strikes, smaller labor groups being formed. And a lot of that is seeing what could be done with the labor movements and what success that they've had. So I think that this hope is kind of a good way to describe the climate in general of like what people are, looking at their peers in various industries that are, organizing around the idea that their labor is worth more than what they're being paid.
So like where do you think that we should be looking for these signs of improvement? We've seen companies fight strongly against, say, settlements like the recent one Riot Games just reached for $100 million. They initially tried to cap it at $10 million. Should we take settlements like that as inspiring? Is that a sign of forward progress? Is that where we should be looking, or is there where should the focus be going on making sure that these workplaces are changing at a from the really the top down?
So I think looking at the settlements kind of gives a sense of false hope, because they're essentially like end up being PR battles, and ways for corporations to gain good PR by saying that they are doing something, and without legally admitting guilt, it's a way for them to throw a small sum of money at the problem to buy them some time and goodwill within the media and the public, while still continuing, most or almost all of the, terrible workplace practices that they've been doing for years under the radar. This provides them a small bit of cover. So what I think you really need to look at is the actual labor groups that are boiling up throughout all of these corporations, and I think it's going to be a while before some of the bigger Activision or even Riot Games has an actual union, but though they will have strong kind of like labor groups that are working with unions that will provide some of at least the reactive benefits, not so much like the proactive, negotiating contract type benefits. But I think in some of the smaller gaming industries, in 2021, we had an example of Paizo. It was a tabletop, but a small tabletop company, and then Vodio,
Vodio, I think, probably.
God, I'm never going to be able to pronounce anything. They're a very small indie a video game developer where management was like, yeah, this is going to help us out, so we're not even going to fight the union. So we're going to continue to see like big strides in, I think, smaller corporations or like smaller corners of the gaming industries writ large, but in these big corporations, they're going to continue to pull these settlements, fight for these settlements, which provide them media cover, but also some employee cover. Reading up about the Riot lawsuits, a lot of employees were interviewed when the settlement came out, and reporters were asking them, in 2018, Riot was kind of like the first to kick off this like labor and gaming movement. And they're like, if you were to ask your 2018 self, like where you'd be in 2022, they're like, we thought we'd be part of a union. But they, there wasn't the momentum around them. There wasn't the infrastructure to, build a union. And, a lot of the workers there are kind of, again, they don't know the value of their labor. So any small changes by management end up being a big win, just because, our society has normalized this suffering to an extent as a worker. A lot of the people at that corporation didn't want to labor organize because they were just happy with these small changes. So I think that's a big hurdle to me at the larger corporations, are getting the full buy-in of the workforce. And I think that Activision has shown us that that's something that can happen. And it'll slowly happen, that people will, have hope for what could be offered to them by management. if they continue fighting. So, I'm not optimistic that every gaming industry is going to have a union in 2022, but I do think the gaming industry serves as a model for how to build some labor solidarity, and get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I think that's my largest takeaway is that solidarity has grown.
Mhm.
It is revolved around that shared sense of suffering, is that these are all things that we have gone through, and exposure of these of everything else that that all these companies do. You see, like, oh, we're not alone in this. There are other people with similar experience. That's obviously going to increase the visibility, or say visibility is always going to kind of increase a sense of solidarity, of empathy amongst workers, that the way say labor law keeps us now is tries to keep us separated and unable to make those connections. However, I again, I think we do have to always temper this with the realistic expectation that these companies are obviously going to fight it tooth and nail. Say Activision has likewise made settlements with some of their lawsuits, like the $18 million that they settled with the EEOC in California, that actually itself is now being appealed, and that's a whole nother thing. But we're now actually in by the time this episode comes out, employees of the subsidiary company from Activision, Raven Software, will have been on strike for over a month at this point. They are protesting and striking against what they view as the unjust dismissal of 12 employees, or say 12 contractors. That's the whole thing that they're fighting for.
Exactly.
Is wanting to get full-time status. And the Activision had done, again, they've been striking for almost a month at this point, with no word from corporate until just recently. And that, of course, then got a bunch of positive press, and all the gaming journalists were like, yeah, Activision finally responds and is like looking to engage with their workers. And then I've got this thing here, an Activision Blizzard QA tester on Twitter, like, shared that this disclosure, this PR bit that Activision released, say there was no communication with striking workers. The ABK strikers, they say, woke up to a press interview where the company said they're working with Raven QA to move forward. So the Twitter user Kate Anderson, at Rebel Comic Nerd, says, friends, this was the first time strikers had even gotten a response from the company, and they didn't even bother to do it directly. So, well, it's all a smoke and mirrors game here, and we always got to have our guard up.
Yeah, and with that one in particular, it was not even that they were just caught off guard. They were caught off guard, and the statement said that the Activision and Raven Software was in the midst of engaging with those employees. So just a bold-faced lie that they were having these discussions with the QA testers. And even reading through that statement that they made, talk about the smoke and mirrors. So a few things I want to say. The telltale sign of a smoke and mirror is we're working to bring the employees to the table. Always going to be, smoke and mirrors of we're signaling that we're going to work with them, but really we took two of the diverse employees and added them to a working team so that they could come up with ideas that we're going to throw in the trash. But the other thing I want to point out about the issue with Raven Software, in particular, is in that statement. So the Raven terminated independent contractors, and we always have to make the distinction between independent contractors and employees. And this is something that throughout labor and throughout the country for more than 50 years now, we've had this move from, moving people as employees to independent contractors because it's less liability for the company to pay the independent contractors than the employees. But Activision, in this press release, they said that they're going to hire 500 new employees after they, have terminated these Raven independent contractors.
Oh, they said from the beginning that was part of it. It's like, oh, in the the pursuit of bringing on a record number of, say 500 new full-time employees, we sadly have to let these 12 go. We got to sacrifice these on the altar of the line in order to we can so everybody else can have these benefits, which nothing is seen from that.
Yeah, and I don't think there will be, because it doesn't make sense for their business model. And this is another reason I think the gaming industry highlights some of the issues in labor with the Raven software in particular. You have the issue of independent contractors and the fractured workplace being highlighted right there, as well as the issue with at-will employees and independent contractors being subject to arbitration clauses. So that was an issue with Riot Games and why they had a walkout in 2019. And same thing going on here with the striking workers at Raven, are these arbitration clauses in the terminated independent contractors contracts. Something that I will be watching, and I won't go into detail here, is there is a Supreme Court case coming up about just that issue of arbitration clauses in employee and independent contractor contracts, because it is another weapon of corporations in order to prevent employees from kind of fighting back from their termination, because the way the arbitration has evolved is it's not financially available to most employees to fight it, and they most of the time lose because the arbitrators are paid by the corporations.
So are we actually that optimistic about the state of things?
I'm optimistic about the solidarity that will be gained amongst the workers. I don't know if actual gains on the board against the corporations will happen, but our teamwork, our building teamwork, will be taking place at least in the next year. And I think these small gains will, you'll see more and more people being supportive of these types of movements, and that's just going to be a huge win.
I mean, I think it sucks that it's the reality that with the problems associated with labor, and particularly in this industry, the steps are going to be small. I hate incrementalism, at my core, but I don't think there's going to be anything else. I don't think that it's gonna move at any faster pace, because again, they're beholden to to the shareholders and the profit motive like everybody else. So unless there's some radical shift in just the labor market in general, maybe we see something ensuingly dramatic, but I kind of doubt that.
And the last thing I'll say, and tied into that, is I think part of it is a education or a miseducation of the value of your labor, and just the power that you actually hold in the market, even as it's currently set up. And I think that that process of building solidarity, a lot of it is an educational process where you really need to educate your fellow worker and the workers in other industries, and even consumers, of what is going on, what can be done in order to build that momentum and kind of catch up to where the neoliberal understanding of businesses is.
And I just also want to quickly shout out the if you want to support the striking Raven QA workers, they have a GoFundMe going for their strike fund. They've already raised over $350,000. We will post the link for that in the show notes when this goes up. But yeah, if you feel and are able to contribute and help, aid in worker solidarity in the industry, we would appreciate that, and I think we will be contributing as well. And it kind of sucks, there's the glimmer of maybe a more hopeful future, but how quickly we can just descend further into the muck, into the dirt. Our future is looking darker every day that we press forward, and I see that no more clearly epitomized in the gaming industry than the current obsession by studio executives with NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and the whole blockchain gaming thing. We have full disclosure, this is we're new to this whole podcasting thing. We did some pre-launch recordings, some kind of practice episodes where we've We've talked about the NFT craze, and we have some of those clips posted to YouTube. So be sure to go check those out if you want to go back and see how this thing has unfolded. But as of right now, it's just like you feel like I've got my Google alerts set, not even just to NFTs, just to like the various gaming studios, and every single day now I'm just getting alerts of this studio, this group is either actively engaging with NFTs and producing things like the whole Ubisoft Quartz thing. And I know, Rick, you've got some details for that whole shit show. But it's just like everyone is just like, oh yeah, like it's if you were only like looking at these articles, you would think that like, yeah, this is the biggest craze. Everybody who plays games is talking about these things. It's just jonesing for them to incorporate this shit. But it's just like a bubble, a feedback loop of just these guys just kind of jerking each other off and just trying to blow this concept up and manufacture the general consensus that this is something that people want and they desire. But Rick, you've got some hard hitting numbers for us. Take us through how is Ubisoft Quartz doing? Are people buying the digits?
No, is the short answer. No one is buying digits, first off. And second, I think the whole blockchain idea in general has kind of had this trend, not only with like NFTs and gaming, but Bitcoin, where the only reason people want it anymore is because they think they can maybe get rich from it. Like its true like initial purpose is no longer why Bitcoin is being used. But back to the more topical topic, which is the Quartz platform. They have maybe sold $1,000 or had $1,000 worth of sales since launch, which is just under a month ago at the time of recording. So no one's buying these, and it's almost, there's something weird here, and I don't know why, but it was a weird choice on Ubisoft's behalf to use this game. Ghost Recon Breakpoint is not a new game. It wasn't well received. It wasn't critically acclaimed. So to try and implement this NFT within a game that no one really cares about even to begin with is really a strange idea. And then on top of that, they made it so that you have to play to have these NFTs. So that kind of takes out a lot of the speculators and the ability to, at least to some extent, pump and dump these NFTs, which is what you're seeing in a lot of other places within the market where people are essentially just, overvaluing things, selling them as soon as they can. And Ubisoft didn't allow for that to happen. So it's kind of an interesting idea where it's I don't know, this is conspiratorial for sure, but like it's almost like they wanted it to not be that successful so that it just takes the heat now, and that when they integrate it into a bigger game down the line, some of that negative shit's already gone down and they can just kind of force feed it to us.
Because let's be real, like who's going to be playing, Ghost Recon for a long enough time to make
Literally
any non-fungible token or cosmetic item you have worth anything once those servers shut down?
Exactly. So I don't know. I part of me after doing this research just kind of feels like this was Ubisoft's loss leader. Like they're letting the bad press happen now. And 6 months from now, when they announce NFTs are going to be a part of all of their games going forward, it's a little less of a negative response because people have already gotten to groan and grumble about it.
I don't think that's that crazy. I don't think that's crazy at all, because that goes into, again, this whole thing that we're seeing is that like they're trying to get us used to it.
Exactly.
Well, and I think on top of that, it's like they have to jump on it early because this is just going to become like a brand issue, like where all the top video game brands are implementing this. So this is Ubisoft's way of being on the cutting edge while also putting it into a game that they don't care if it takes some heat, so that when everyone else is finally getting into the NFT game, they're already ahead of the curve. They've already worked out their issues, and they could just hit the ground running.
So Ubisoft has also been in the news recently about their announcement that they're going to be like merging their Ubisoft Plus kind of cloud streaming thing with Xbox in some way. What do we think that means for them? What does that signal in any way? Is this good news for Ubisoft? Is this bad? Like to me,
I think this is
strikes me
just
as
a
like,
lateral move.
or it's like to me, I was like, okay, that means that their platform was failing on their own.
I mean, I don't know who amongst us, there's got to be a market for it, but who amongst us would pay a specific subscription just for Ubisoft games? Like that's a pretty narrow market to open yourself to. So they're probably just expanding to Xbox, and that, Microsoft probably paid a little bit of money, bring them over first, and then it'll go to PS5 and Sony in like a year or two. Maybe even get to like Nintendo Switch if they do like cloud gaming or something like that to dumb the games down to play on the Switch. It's just a market thing.
Well,
They're just expanding.
but I think it's not even like the consumer market that you need to look at here, and like you really need to look at the stock market and the shareholder value that they're trying to create. And if you're a corporation competing in the video game industry now, where everything is going to video game streaming, like if you don't have a streaming service, like you're not living up to like the business potential and the potential shareholder value that you could create. So like you almost are forced to endeavor to do this, whether it's going to fail or not, because you can't leave any, you have a fiduciary duty to not leave anything on the table. You have to, if this could potentially, bring in more revenue than the last quarter, you're gonna do it. And again, to stay in like the branding mindset, if everyone is going to streaming and that's the next big thing, just like NFTs are the next big thing, like you have to do that. Your hand is kind of forced to stay, in that top tier of, the cutting edge of the big gaming industries.
Yeah, and I think it does speak to the fact that their Ubisoft Plus clearly just wasn't generating enough traffic on its own, and they probably just felt like the trade-off of losing that direct monetary value from those customers is probably made up by the volume on Xbox and the fact that they'll still be able to generate, in-game purchasing and things like that. Their stock has not done well over the last year, so it will be interesting to see how this reflects on their trading price. Right now, they're essentially at their 52-week low, which is about they're at about $9 a share. So they were trading at a high of around 20 near the beginning of 2021. It'll be interesting to see, how the market responds to their clear headfirst dive into the NFT blockchain world, and also, this partnership with Microsoft.
Well, I think it's clear that the market doesn't know what the fuck they want, because you see, Ubisoft is down. One of the most recent companies to stir up the shit with their, dipping their toes into NFTs is Square Enix. With the now infamous New Year's letter released by the Square Enix president Yusuke Matsuda. We'll get to the letter in just a second. There are a few bits I want to read out, but like every other company that's announced this shit, immediately met with intense backlash by the fans and by communities. Yet Square saw an 8% bump in their stock after the announcement. It was like their highest trading point since August. Was directly tied to this announcement, which is just, again, mind-boggling to me. It's just proof that, again, that nobody knows what the fuck this stuff is doing and knows what it's worth and where it's going to go. I mean, the truth is it's worth nothing, and it's just people putting their own price tags on things, but whatever.
Well, to me, I've been mulling this over. It's the ultimate game of soggy bagel. Like who is the last to come on the bagel, has to eat it, and that's what's going to be with NFTs. It's like, who's left holding the bag?
Cookie.
Yeah, like who's left holding the bag at the end is going to be the loser, because it's, like we said, it's just the same 5 dudes jerking each other off, with these speculative investments. It's probably a reason why the Ubisoft one will fail at first, is because there is not going to be any speculators in it, or at least, on their face, they're not going to be speculators. They're going to have to do some workarounds if they want to do that, like play the game. But like, that's why it'll fail, because right now it is just all speculation. So, the more and more I think about it, I think this is just Ubisoft's way of sliding us into NFTs and getting used to them, just like we got used to loot boxes and microtransactions. They are going to exist there. They may fail, but they're just going to keep failing upwards until we are all the one eating the soggy bagel, because every game now has NFTs in it and is, just ridiculous.
Just unplayable.
Yeah.
Just like, let's not forget that all these proposed games just sound like they fucking suck.
Yeah, we're all just going to be playing Axie Infinity.
Well, but to your point, Mike, I mean, capital markets are the soggy bagel game. It's about selling high.
So glad I came up with this.
Selling high and buying low. You wanna finish first before that's a soggy bagel. It's the same concept. It's a great analogy, and it's essentially turning parts of these games into a way to turn it into a capital market that can be exploited and monetized. And that's what they're going to do. And I think that's why you see these announcements resulting in, an immediate stock price jump, because what people see is potential for additional cash flow. And that's, what drives a stock price by a decent amount is, what are future expected cash flows. So if you make an announcement that is going to, easily open the door to additional cash, it's going to immediately drive your stock price up, at least, even for a day, until people look more into what you've said. But just even that initial excitement and being like, hey, there's a new opportunity for us to make cash that's essentially cost nothing. Investors are going to like that shit.
Because it just becomes like the poor man's stock market.
Yep.
Where like you're just putting all this money into the game, thinking that it's going to hold some value, that you'll be able to sell it later on. And in the end, it's just the corporations, adding another cash flow into their spreadsheet.
And I think you're getting onto something critical. It's like, it's again asking who these are for, and with these announcements. And I just want to first read the opening paragraph of the Square Enix letter. It starts, the metaverse was a hot topic in 2021, inspiring a lively global conversation, first about what the metaverse is, and then about what sort of business opportunities it presents. Geez, I am just an expert reader today. Against this backdrop, Facebook, god damn,
Facebox.
All right.
That reader rabbit you did was not a very good. Yeah. You got the black market version. That was
So again, against this backdrop, Facebook changed its name in October to Meta, serving as evidence that the concept is not a mere buzzword, but here to stay. The metaverse garnered so much attention that 2021 was dubbed the metaverse year. And it's like, says who?
Yeah.
Says who, man? It's like the fact that they think that that's what everybody was talking about, again, proves why they're doing this, because it's the only people in their orbit are the ones talking about this. It's just the guys in their ears, the guys in the executive C-suite. They're the only ones that are talking about this, that think that this is a big deal, that think that this is the way games are going. And it has trickled down into you're hearing from the actual developers themselves. Like, there's some quotes here from actual Square programmers. They say, like, it will be interesting to see how new technologies such as NFT and metaverse will be involved in the game world, ! NFT digital assets. There are many issues such as legislation, and I think there are still many growing pains in 2022, but it seems that interesting game ideas will be born. It seems that new values will be born into the world in 3 or 4 years. I'm curious about NFT related content in games. I think that new play is from new technologies. So now I want to do something with NFTs. And it's just like, oh my God, it's just like this continual chamber of recirculation that's just churning out the same crap over and over again. And it's just like one person posts something and then the next person takes that as okay. That means that everybody must want this, and it's just building and building and building, and they're just trying to get us to buy the lie, to accept that is that other people must be talking about it. So man, I sure feel like an idiot that I'm not paying attention to it. So I gotta now look into this and post about it and do it. I mean, look, they got us to do it.
Well, and reading that Square Enix thing and thinking about it more with what you had just said, it read to me as a shareholder letter, like the annual shareholder, like statutory letter that they need to send out each year, like updating what the company's doing and things like that. But I do think, and it should have only gone out to the shareholders. This should have not been a public thing to everyone. Some
executive assistant like sent to the wrong mailing list.
Yeah, that's what it seems. But the more and more I think about this, the idea of the manufactured consent within it, I think that it is more purposeful, of a purposeful slip, like getting people to think that, even the developers think that this is, the next big thing. And some of those developers probably do, because they want to get in on the soggy bagel action. They want to get an NFT as well because they think that they could get rich, and it's probably not going to be true. But this isn't something that the consumer wants. It's just all around the capital holders that are the one, that includes the shareholders that are going to be the ones that want this to happen. And like I said, the more and more I think, originally I thought, like, why are they sending this shareholder message out? But the more and more I think of this idea of manufactured consent within the gaming executives, and just once you become a C-suite executive, you don't have to cite a source. Whatever you say is the written word. Praise be to God. And so you could put something out there and then get everyone to believe it. And I bet you there's some Elon Stan style rubes that are super excited about NFTs and gaming, and now are going to go buy all of Square Enix's games, because they're going to have a chance to buy, Star-Lord's, a one-of-a-kind Star-Lord fucking get up in Guardians of the Galaxy or some shit like that.
So I find the whole Square thing really funny. And there's a Twitter user, Sam Thorne, posted this great meme that really just kind of exemplifies the irony of Square Enix, and also kind of serves as a transition into our next our final topic for today. But just how Square Enix, is being so enthusiastic about NFTs, yet then looking back at Final Fantasy 14 has 20K long queue lines, and they have to delist the sales of the game because of hardware shortages caused by, you guessed it, crypto miners buying up all GPUs and stuff to verify all their NFTs. So it's just shooting I forget the expression, but shooting your foot to spite your face type of thing. It's just
cutting your nose to spite your face.
Yeah, whatever. That's it. It's just fucking so stupid and so ridiculous. But there was another good article that I think as another retrospective on the end year that it ties this in, that this obsession with crypto is directly tied into the gaming industry, and is resulting in the death of the budget PC. We are, thanks to these industrious entrepreneurs who are burning a country's worth of electricity to verify that somebody's Axie belongs to them, or that they're bored ape.
My monkey picture looks like I own it.
Yeah, that their JPEG, to verify the receipt for their JPEG. and it's keeping people from getting into the hobby. And the article in PC Gamer was really interesting, and I think of note for us here on the show. It's like PC gaming is probably one of the most inclusive parts of the video game hobby. It allows people to, in the past, that is, it had allowed people access to these games at surprisingly powerful performance rates that are inaccessible to people who say can't afford a console, or like can get even higher power than you could on a console, but like just that's not a thing anymore. And that just ties into the recent news of there have been there are the recent presentations by both Nvidia and AMD about these new cards. But so Matt, I got to ask you, as our resident tech expert, got to give us the cold hard truth. Is the hardware crisis here to stay? Do we have any reason for optimism here? Are budget gamers going to be able to get their hands on these new cards?
So, two things. Is the crisis here to stay? I don't think the crisis is here to stay forever. I do think we're definitely going to feel this all of 2022. And 2023 will probably start to feel the end effects of it. I think that's when we'll start to see the downswing, of all of this hoarding and whatnot that's been going on. We've got AMD releasing the 6500 XT, which is a $200 range card, really targeting that budget-minded gamer that, there's no real purpose in that for that card in mining. Anyone who's buying that card to mine with is not mining, properly. That anyone buying that card is specifically buying that card to either game on it for a budget or to sell it overpriced. Like right now, you can buy a 3070 for $1,000 on eBay, even though it's a $500 card. Secondary, you get Nvidia, who showed off their 3050, which is a $250 card. The 3050, the 50 series card, has always been their very lower end discrete graphics. In the past, hasn't really been capable of much gaming. With the newer hardware, it's a little bit better. There's hope to see that this new $250 card can keep up and be a good entry point for people. You get Intel pushed off their GPUs again. So I'm not even going to speculate on them. We haven't seen much of anything about it. Until they release something, I'm not going to talk about them. But I think this crisis is one of those things, like, as far as I can remember, as building computers go and like looking at computer components, like it's only gotten worse. And it's because when I started looking at it is when GPU mining really started to uptick and everyone started to go for the Bitcoins and the altcoins and whatever fun little crypto fix they were going to scratch themselves with. And it's only it starts, like the GPU shortage that we've experienced, the chip shortage, but things you don't pay attention to are like power supplies. You couldn't get your hands on 1,000-watt power supplies forever because all the mining setups took all the 1,000-watt power supplies to power their fucking bank of 3090s that they've got on the wall sitting on a piece of 2x4.
Some of their setups are insane.
I mean, they can warm a fucking house. They can warm a whole block if they
start a fire.
Target some of that heat.
So I hope they all burn to the ground in the game, of course.
What's the joke? If you saw, it was like a picture of a house with the roof all melted in one particular spot. And it's like in 2005, they'd think they're growing weed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
2020, they're mining crypto.
Yeah. What's like state official did that burn down?
It was Matt
state
Gates'
property.
No, it was Matt Gates's.
All right,
like
his like
one of his
consigliere
kind of.
Yeah. Burned down state property with a crypto mining.
He might have been like
hilarious.
the treasurer of like, I think it was a municipality or something, and he
hysterical. Yeah,
was.
So I just want to know what documents they were burning.
That is Chad behavior.
Yeah, he had a crypto closet like within the city's building, and it just burnt to the ground.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's hope on the horizon that maybe these budget-minded cards will be able to get into more hands. AMD did say in their presentation that they shipped more GPUs in the second half of last year than they did in the first half. So there's hope that they can try to get this supply chain moving a little bit more, get the market filled a little bit so that these scalpers don't have as much to, bite off. I know that the Xbox and PlayStation 5, both after the holiday buzz, have seen a huge downturn on their StockX and eBay prices. I know you could find a Series X at one point for only like $580, which is almost MSRP at that point. Like if I didn't have a PS5 and I saw a PS5 for $580, that's like almost the sweet spot of I'd buy that and like deal with it.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you that there's some optimism. My only fear is that these card manufacturers are seeing the current like market values and prices and just gonna say, well, fuck it, people are paying it, and never bring them down lower, or just raise them up more than they would have.
What incentive do they have
Without this? Exactly. They're incentivized to raise the prices at this point. So like that's my fear.
They're going to sell the same number of cards regardless, so why not sell the more expensive ones?
It also kind of feeds into the whole idea of like Google Stadia and all of these. Like we talked about game streaming in one sense, but this is the game streaming where you don't even have hardware and you're playing off someone's server and you're playing through an internet connection off like a Chromecast plugged into your TV or something like that. That's another layer of budget-minded gaming per se. If you can take a $200 Chromebook and play streaming games through a web portal, for example, like that's another way to introduce gaming into the lower tier markets. And that's something that's, I mean, Google took their swing at it. I think they were ready to abandon it. They do that a lot. GeForce Now with NVIDIA is another really interesting service. If you sign up for that, you get, a range of games that are available with it. Then it'll check your Steam library, and any game that can support it will also get ported over to your, like if you own like The Witcher 3 and GeForce Now doesn't have Witcher 3 in its regular subscription, it'll bring it over and let you play it because you own it. It's an interesting concept.
GeForce Now sounds like a Power Rangers spinoff.
Absolutely. GeForce Now.
Wow.
Wasn't GeForce the
Energize.
like hamsters that had superpowers? Wasn't that the name of that movie?
That was GeForce. Yep.
Yeah, that's deep pull. Yeah.
Rick, to your point, if I was understanding you correctly, saying like, and Ben as well, that they're just gonna like continue jacking up the prices of the GPU, and they're not incentivized to make one for the budget PC player. I think that's kind of against their business interests, and because you have so many people that want to buy a GPU to game and are buying it an older one on the black market, which Nvidia is missing out on that, or AMD is missing out on that. So they're always going to have the miners and like the hardcore gamers that are fighting for their 30 series or whatever is the highest, but there will always be, and it seems with the streaming gaming is another route that they're trying to be able to continue to capture that audience. Like it would be interesting to me if they can, like AMD is doing, continue to create GPUs that aren't capable of mining, that are solely targeted towards an intro gamer or young gamers, and then continue to just pump out their highest series and not care who gets them, because they're already hitting that market, whether through the going the streaming route or going through a dedicated gaming lower end but gaming style non-mining capable GPU.
I think what the PC Gamer article though was getting at is that with a ever dwindling source of the actual physical elements and resources required for making these chips, that they're going to have to make the decision of where do you put them into the higher level chips that they can, or cards that they can make more money off of, or the lower level ones. So the longer the drought lasts, the more they're going to be incentivized to solely have them in the most expensive cards that will then keep going to the crypto miners that will then just keep perpetuating the problem. So I have little faith.
You can kind of see that with how NVIDIA structured their conference. and the things they focused on. Like, of course, they talked about, the 3090 Ti, the new king of their lineup, the top tier card that the miners will drool over. And, that's a card that, you and I will never touch, we'll never see. That's might as well not be real. But then they, discussed like the 3050, a new lower tier that, the average person might actually have a chance to get. But the real focus they wanted to talk about were their new laptop lines, the new laptop GPUs, the 3080 Ti and the 3070 Ti. And that's another.
Those actually do look
kind
kind of cool.
Like the entry point you can get to with gaming laptops now.
Yeah, those do look kind of cool. From my very layman's approach to the technical side of things, they looked kind of interesting to me. As someone who will, I know, be in the market for a new laptop in the next year or two.
If we wanted to be truly entrepreneurial, we would go over to China where all of our e-waste goes and just like start rifling through for some cobalt and make some GPUs of our own.
No, we'll just
You're sounding like my CEO.
we'll just mine an asteroid that comes by,
Just invent a new element.
All right, guys, I think this was a good episode. Normally, I think we may try our hand with some little kind of short ending segments, but with all the stuff we had to get through at the front end of the
opening
show,
episode stuff.
I think we kind of probably are going to run a little bit long, anyways. So I think now is a good place to wrap it up. But before we go, we've got some plugs we got to get through. If you like the show and what we're doing here, come join us on Twitch. We stream games and commentary every week. You can follow us at campaign_comrades. The best way to find out when we're going live is to also follow us on Twitter at campcompod. We push out notifications every time anybody's going live, and so the plan is we're doing independent streams, group streams, seeing how it goes. And the more success we can garner, the more people we can bring into the community, then the more we hope to be able to do. However, if you guys can't catch streams and stuff like that, we post the best clips on our YouTube page, also under Campaign Comrades. Anything else that you guys have of your own that you'd like to plug?
Just follow us all on Twitter except Matt, because he doesn't have one. You could follow me at Cut the Mic.
Yeah, you can find me online most places at BennyBox427.
You can find me at What's Your Angle.
You can try your best to find me on Reddit.
Matt has the most Reddit karma of all of us. He's
the internet. The internet sleuths are going to find you. The Reddit sickos are going to take that as a challenge, and they're going to find you. All right, gang. Till next time.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
Bye.